So when I first heard the title, Eliminators, a 2016 movie, I thought, yes, it's a remake of the massively underrated 80s B-movie sci-fi action film of the same name, Eliminators. Sadly, this is just a pretty much okay but generic action film starring Scott Adkins, directed by James Nunn. Now, the story here basically focuses on Adkins' character, who is a former federal agent who is basically kind of like a witness protection. He's living in the UK with his kind of young daughter. Due to an unforeseen circumstances, he's kind of broadcast on public news, and his kind of former criminal associates where he was undercover with basically got wind of him and kind of want him dead. And there's a kind of like a mafia boss played by James Cosmo, who sends a kind of a top assassin played by WWE's Wade Barrett, who to kind of go after him, and basically becomes a cat and mouse. This kind of Adkins' character is avoiding bad guys, police, this kind of this assassin, and also trying to kind of look after his daughter as well. So now I say this is a fairly generic movie. I have to say I actually thought it was quite good to a certain degree. The main strength of this film is, despite its relatively lower budget, it actually plays and kind of looks pretty good. I have to say the action sequences in particular are all very well shot and very well kind of choreographed. All the kind of the physical fights, the kind of the one-on-one fights, all look pretty good and kind of very well choreographed. And there's lots of exciting sort of gun battles, and the kind of the impact where it could be people getting kind of knocked back and stuff. All looks pretty good, so I really appreciated that. And I quite like the fact, although it's just an American movie, obviously a lot of it is taking place in the UK, and of course in the UK we don't really have the gun situation that you have in America. So, like for example, the police don't have guns, and so there's a lot more kind of hand-to-hand combat than you maybe would get if this was set in America. Obviously, there are a few guns in here because the criminals don't care about the law, do they? So that aspect, it was added a kind of a little slightly kind of different feel to it. Adkins here makes a kind of a pretty good action hero. You know, he's really doing a lot of these kind of films now. He definitely is the kind of the Gary Daniels, or the kind of that type of role of today. Basically, he's a kind of your straight to kind of DVD action hero of the 2000 teens, basically. So like I said, this is a pretty good but very sort of generic action film. It's solidly made. Doesn't really kind of do anything you haven't really seen before. If I had to have some kind of criticisms of this movie, there are a couple of choices that are made, particularly with James Cosmo's the kind of mob boss. For some reason, he's kind of putting on this weird accent, and James Cosmo's normally a pretty reliable actor. He's obviously Game of Thrones and among many things, but he's saddled this kind of this horrible accent, kind of an American accent, and it doesn't suit him, and it comes across as really kind of quite bad, unfortunately. And there are things that are done here just for kind of stylistic choices. Like we have this raging gun battle between Adkins' character and all these kind of henchmen, and then we see the kind of the Cosmo's like female sidekick put on a silencer. Why is he putting on a silencer? There's all loads of gunfire going around all together. So there's loads of kind of silly things that are just done to kind of make that'll look like a cool shot, but don't really make sense. But going back onto the positives, I have to say, you know, there's no real kind of like stinker performances, and maybe with the exception of Cosmo there, although I think that he was just, the actor was a bad idea. But they're all acceptable for, I would say, pretty solid performances from a kind of a B-movie standard. And like I said, the action here was really the main positive. But for me, because I felt it was so well shot, it really did come across as kind of like a much higher budget action film. Although it's not particularly, you know, big in scope, you have to say it's competently made in regards to the action, the set pieces, and the kind of the choreography, like I've mentioned. So overall, I actually have to say, if you are a fan of kind of, you know, quite high tempo action films, you'll do a lot worse. And so I have to say, I've seen quite a lot of Adkins movies. I'd have to say I actually could prefer this one over quite a few of the other ones. So I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. I have to say I could have quite enjoyed this one. Go check it out. If you've seen it, what do you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.